Today's film begins inside a research laboratory where we see Dr. Anderson, an expert and intelligent doctor, working with his team on an important project, a project that could take humanity and the entire world to another level. Late at night, while Anderson is sitting working on his laptop, he suddenly notices his caged bird is frightened. He wonders what is scaring it and then hears a strange sound at the window. He gets up to look and finds a small drone flying in front of him with a camera filming him. Suddenly, without any warning, the entire place explodes. Dr. Anderson is killed along with the explosion, and they successfully eliminated him with complete ease. We then see senior American officials summoning the head of Korean intelligence named Kim and telling him that Dr. Anderson was killed in a terrorist attack today. They are upset, of course, because he was one of their people, and they inform him that the project has been exposed, which will cause a major danger and further attacks are likely to occur. They tell him he must act quickly and secure the situation as soon as possible. Kim then calls Dr. John at the laboratory, who is one of the officials responsible for the project after Anderson, and tells him the project must be transferred to another completely secure location because protecting it is the top priority. Dr. John is upset because they are already in the final stages and about to complete the project but is forced to comply given the high risk of another attack. However, he makes a request which we will learn about shortly. We then see Hyun, who is unfortunately addicted and in a bad state. He has not slept for 2 days from headaches, because his supply has run out. He goes to his friend at a hospital to get some of what he takes, and his friend warns him that this path is wrong and will not end well, and he could die. But Hyun tells him not to worry about him and that he would never allow something like that to kill him. Hyun then drives to an empty spot by the sea to breathe freely. As he sits there, he opens his eyes and suddenly finds the water flooding his car while he is sitting inside it and the car sinking completely underwater. He frantically tries to get out, and when he surfaces, he finds himself in the middle of the sea at night. But this all turns out to be a terrifying nightmare, and he wakes up to find people waiting outside his car. We learn they are from the police who arrest him and take him with them. He does not know who sent them, but he finds out when he arrives and sees someone he knew before but had not seen in years. The man tells him it is not me who wants to see you and points to someone standing in the distance who turns out to be Kim. Kim tells him, "How are you, Hyun? It has been a long time since we last met," and asks him to carry out a mission for the benefit of his country. Hyun tells him he no longer works with them, but Kim tells him he needs a trustworthy person and no one is better than him for this mission. He tells him, "Do you remember the day Sue died?" And we see Hyun visibly affected when he hears her name. Kim says 3 years have passed. Time flies. What I need from you is a secret and important national mission, and you must help us, and that is all you need to know right now. He manages to convince Hyun to work with him, and Hyun goes with him on the mission and arrives at a massive ship that now houses the laboratory in the project. He meets Dr. John, who takes him inside the lab. They explain that they have raised the security level following the terrorist attack that occurred recently. Hyun enters and is amazed by the quantity of equipment and the high-quality work in the laboratory and the number of people working there. He asks Dr. John what all of this is. John tells him it is very important research. Hyun asks what exactly this research does and why it is on a ship. John tells him, "Consider it a ship that is important and necessary for human life, and in the future you will understand everything. Be patient." They then enter a room and are introduced to Dr. Lim, and John tells him she is the one in charge here. Dr. Lim begins speaking to Hyun and tells him 10 years ago, they successfully cultivated stem cells and genetically modified cells, and implanted cells with the ability to reproduce. After 7 months of gestation, the specimen was born. The specimen grew at twice the normal rate, and a superhuman was born with extraordinary abilities. He tells her, wait, a specimen and a superhuman. Dr. John tells him, "Come and look," and they show him a young man confined alone in a room. John tells him this is the first human specimen, the first cloned human being in history. We are not even sure whether to call him human or not. He is essentially a monster with extraordinary abilities. You could call him non-human, a new species or subspecies of human. This is the first successful case of its kind, and this specimen we named Sebyuk, a different being whose genes were modified to make him an immortal being who does not die. We extract cells from his bone marrow that have special abilities, cells that can cure all diseases that afflict humans. Because of Sebyuk, death could become mere mythology. After the attack in which Dr. Anderson was killed, we realized we are in danger and must protect Sebyuk no matter the cost. He understands that this is hard to believe. Hyun tells him this feels like a kid writing a story from his imagination. But Dr. John tells him on the contrary and shows him that Sebyuk has an extraordinary ability to control the wind and can also move things from a distance with great force through something like magic or mental waves. He is far more powerful than us, and we do not understand how he controls things remotely. Suddenly, Sae-byuk looks at Hyun, and the wind intensifies greatly, but then Hyun suddenly falls to the ground unconscious. We are surprised to learn that Hyun actually has cancer and a brain tumor, and with the stress, his condition is deteriorating significantly. Dr. John tells him you have 6 months to a year to live at best in the best-case scenario and offers him a secret experiment. He tells him, I can treat you through Sae-byuk, and I can save your life. We now learn that this was Dr. John's request. He wanted someone to be the first to test whether the treatment would succeed or not. Kim managed to convince Hyun and explain everything to him, that Sae-byuk is a powerful weapon in the hands of those who fear him, and that he and Sae-byuk will be transferred to a secret location for safety and for the experiment to take place there. Hyun was chosen because he is going to die soon anyway, so there's not much risk in experimenting on him. Hyun indeed agrees to this. We then see Hyun watching them inject Sae-byuk with a strange-looking injection, which causes him pain. He asks Dr. Lim about it, and she tells him he must take this injection every day to prevent cell division in his body, because its rate is too fast, and without it, he could grow rapidly. He asks her what will happen if he does not take it, and she tells him the cells will then go out of control like cancer, and if he does not take it, he will die. He tells her, but you said he does not die. She tells him no, of course he can die. For example, if he is burned with fire or hit by a car, he is not invincible. She lights a cigarette beside her and tells him she heard he would be participating in the experiment and congratulates him on his bravery. He tells her he is not sure this is something he should be congratulated for. By the way, what is the probability of this experiment succeeding? She looks at him and says coldly, since this is the first experiment, nobody knows yet what the probability is. He asks, well, if it fails, what will happen to me? She looks at him and tells him matter-of-factly, in the worst case, you will die, and that is what will happen to you in any case, so you have nothing to lose. He is bothered by her way of speaking. After that, everything is prepared, and they move to the secure location where the experiment will take place. Hyun sits beside Sae-byuk in a container inside the transport vehicle carrying them. He starts getting to know him and talking with him. He notices his behavior is strange. Sae-byuk sees the gun Hyun has and asks him, have you used it before? Have you killed anyone? But Hyun tells him, why are you curious about that? It is none of your business. We then discover something dangerous, which is that Kim actually ordered his men to take Hyun and leave Sae-byuk so he could hand him over to America after speaking with the officials we saw earlier. But an unexpected surprise occurs. An ambulance that was driving in front of them on the road suddenly produces armed soldiers who shoot at Kim's men and kill all of them. They stop the transport vehicle and Hyun stands with his gun ready to kill anyone who enters. But they surprise him with a gas grenade that forces him unconscious, and Kim in the monitoring center is furious and does not understand what is happening. His whole team has been wiped out. Hyun wakes up and finds himself tied up. He tries to talk to Sae-byuk beside him and tries to free himself, but one of the armed kidnappers comes in preparing an injection to give to Sae-byuk. But Sae-byuk looks at him confidently and tells him, no, I will not take it. The man does not care about his words and approaches him with the injection. But then Sae-byuk surprises everyone with his power and shakes the entire container they are in and manages to knock them away without touching them, and they fall to the ground. Hyun is already free and immediately finishes off the remaining armed men. The men outside the container sense unease inside and go to check what is happening, but by then, Hyun and Sae-byuk have moved to the front, and Hyun drives the vehicle and takes out anyone who blocks his path and heads at speed toward a wall and crashes through it with the vehicle managing to escape. He then goes to the nearest phone on the street to call Kim and give him their address. Kim tells him there is a safe house of ours, but it is 5 kilometers away. Hyun goes to take the vehicle again to move, but it breaks down and refuses to start. He tells Sae-byuk, we will have to walk. Let us move because you are still in danger. But Sae-byuk does not care and stands where he is. He uncovers his face and tells Hyun, why am I in danger? Why are they chasing me in the first place? There is no time to explain, but Hyun tells him because you are the specimen. You are the one whose cells carry the ability to never die. Evil people are trying to steal this technology through you. Understand? Sae-byuk then tells him, and how do I know you're not evil yourself? Hyun gets annoyed and tells him, I am doing all of this precisely to protect you, and I am protecting you because your life is now worth my own life, because I can potentially stay alive because of you. They start moving and walk through a market in the area. Hyun's steps are quick because he wants to reach the place fast while Sae-byuk walks slowly, amazed at everything around him, seeing the world for the first time and watching people because it is his first time seeing the world outside the laboratory. Hyun feels dizzy while walking and his head hurts. When he regains consciousness, he does not find Sae-byuk behind him. He searches for him and finds him standing watching a man working in his shop. Hyun goes and takes him out. All the people are staring at them because Sae-byuk is wearing strange clothes, the clothes he always wore at the laboratory. He enters a shop and buys him new clothes and new shoes. They then continue on their way and finally arrive at their safe apartment. Hyun opens the door with the code since all police safe houses share the same code, and he knows it. He also opens a safe inside which is full of money and takes some. Se-byuk goes to take some money too, but Hyun tells him no, do not touch anything. He then sits monitoring the cameras. Se-byuk asks him, why are you always tense? Calm down a little. He tells him he is hungry, so Hyun makes him instant noodles. Se-byuk does not know how to eat them, and Hyun gives him a fork to eat with. He eats 3 bowls and still wants a fourth and is not even full. Hyun speaks to him and asks him, how did you know you were a specimen and not a real human? Se-byuk tells him, my mother told me. Hyun is surprised and asks him, you have a mother? Se-byuk says, yes, you met her? He then realizes that Se-byuk's mother is Dr. Lim, that the experiment was carried out on her and she gave birth to Se-byuk. He also learns that Se-byuk has lived in the laboratory his whole life and does nothing except eat and sometimes read and have experiments done on him. That is his entire life. 2 of Kim's policemen then arrive and open the door with the code. Hyun confirms their identities and they tell him, get ready because we are leaving. But he is shocked to find they have orders from Kim to eliminate the specimen and kill Se-byuk. One of them raises his gun at Se-byuk, but Hyun goes and stands in front of him defending him. The officer tells him, I have my orders, and if you do not move, I will have to shoot both you and him. Hyun does not move from his place and is not willing to let Se-byuk be harmed or killed. He tells him, fine, then kill me. It makes no difference to me either way. The officer actually shoots at Hyun, but the first bullet strangely changes direction and completely misses him. He fires many more shots, but all of them change direction and not a single one reaches Hyun because that is Se-byuk's extraordinary ability. Hyun immediately runs and grabs one of them and keeps beating him and knocking him down, then goes back to the second and finds Se-byuk has sent him flying into the wall without even touching him, all while standing still in his place. The entire place is destroyed. He then finds Kim calling his men, so Hyun answers and tells him, what exactly are you doing? Kim tells him, I will explain everything later, but right now eliminate Se-byuk immediately. You must finish him. This is an order from me and I'm not joking, and it is in the country's interest. But Hyun is not convinced and tells him, wait before you speak. He hangs up on him. Dr. John then speaks and tells Hyun to bring Se-byuk back to the laboratory as it is safer for him. We see in the laboratory with Dr. John an old man sitting in a wheelchair, and this is President Shan, and he is the one who hired the mercenary soldiers who prevented the operation of transferring Hyun and Se-byuk when he discovered that Kim was going to hand them over to America. We return to Se-byuk, who refuses to go back to the laboratory and tells Hyun he wants to go somewhere else first and refuses to say why. Hyun gets annoyed, but Se-byuk tells him, you do not have to come with me. I can go alone, and he brings out money he managed to take from the safe as well. Hyun tells him, why did you take that money? It is not yours. Se-byuk tells him it was not yours either, and you took it, so why can I not? Hyun is finally forced to go with him to keep him company. He is worried about him because he needs the injection he cannot do without in order to stay alive. Suddenly, Se-byuk coughs up blood, but tells Hyun he is fine and not to worry and to keep going. At the same time, President Shan is speaking with Kim, and we see the hostility that has begun between them. We learn that Kim wanted to hand Se-byuk over to America because he was convinced by an American official who told him that Se-byuk is a danger to humanity and not beneficial to it. He argued that death is what gives life its purpose and preserves its meaning. But if life never ends, we will see the extreme of greed, and immortality will produce endless desires and continuous conflicts that will literally cause the destruction and extinction of humanity. He threatened Kim that if he did not help them, they would eliminate everyone involved in this project and would not hesitate to eliminate him as well. President Shan tells him, how did you trust them? You are naive, and they will not let you kill Se-byuk the way you want. We learn that President Shan wants Se-byuk because death is approaching him. He wants to be cured of his diseases and live forever. At the same time, Hyun stops at a gas station to fill up and tells Se-byuk to pay with the money he has, that he himself is going inside to use the bathroom. The real reason Hyun goes inside is he wants to call Dr. John to ask if it is normal that Se-byuk coughed up blood. Dr. John tells him he has gone 2 days without the injection that maintains his cells, and this is dangerous for him. He must bring him to the laboratory quickly. At the same time, Se-byuk gets bored and gets out of the car and enters a cafe and stands in front of 2 girls sitting there staring at them. 2 young men who are with the girls come and bully him and try to provoke him. One of them grabs Se-byuk by the shoulder, but finds himself flying through the air in a terrifying manner, and the second hits Se-byuk. Se-byuk gets angry and freezes his movement and destroys the cafe on their heads. When Hyun sees a place being destroyed, he knows Se-byuk is there and goes to take him and moves quickly. He scolds him for what he did because now Kim has managed to pinpoint Se-byuk's location again and will try to chase them. Hyun tells Se-byuk, if you're just going to do whatever you want, then go off by yourself. I am leaving. But Se-byuk grabs him before he leaves and says, I'm sorry, I will not do that again. Hyun then drives by the sea along a cut-off road, because if they stayed on the highway, Kim could easily find their location. Se-byuk gets on Hyun's case when Hyun slips up and says he was taking him to the laboratory rather than the place Se-byuk wants to go. Hyun tells him because you must take your injection, otherwise you could die. You have already gone 2 days without it. Se-byuk asks him what makes you so worried. Why do you have to let me live anyway? Everyone dies sooner or later. Do you deserve to be saved? Hyun tells him you have a point in what you say. I may not deserve to live, but for my part, I will do anything to stay alive. I will not lose hope until the very last moment. Do you think it is wrong for me to wish to keep living? He gets upset, but suddenly his head starts hurting again, and he enters a terrible state with convulsions as if he is dying and loses consciousness and falls asleep. Se-byuk remains sitting on the shore until night falls thinking about his mother, Dr. Lim. He was asking her what the sensation of death feels like, and she told him it is like a deep sleep, but forever. He remembers how she used to feed him to keep him healthy. He was always angry because he did not understand why she conducted this experiment and brought him into life. He would tell her, "You do not love me. You only created me for the experiment. You created me because of Jack." We will learn who Jack is shortly, dear viewer, because she immediately hit him. Hyun then wakes up and sits beside Se-byuk and asks him, "Why did you not sleep?" He tells him, "I do not know how to sleep. I genuinely do not know how you do it." Hyun is surprised and tells him, "Well, I guess nothing will surprise me anymore." He then admits his mistake and tells him he lied to him and was taking him to the laboratory. Se-byuk says, "I thought you were going to die. What does it feel like to be dying?" Hyun tells him it must feel terrible. Se-byuk asks him, "So you would be happy if you stayed alive?" Hyun tells him, "I no longer know if I want to live because I want to live or because I'm afraid of death. But I am full of regret. Regret for the way I lived my life. I was a coward." He then tells him what happened 3 years ago. He was sitting in his car with his girlfriend Sue, and she was telling him that she felt the officers had abandoned them because he had dangerous information that could expose something to the press, and Kim decided to get rid of her. At that moment, Hyun was unable to do anything. He could not save her, and he watched her drown in her car right in front of his eyes while he just stood there watching. He tells Se-byuk, "I should have stayed in the car with her, but I ran and saved myself, and she was the one who died." He breaks down crying and is filled with regret. Morning arrives and Se-byuk remains determined to go to the place he wants, which turns out to be a church. When they arrive, Se-byuk enters the room with the memorial boxes and opens a specific one belonging to a person named Jack, whose photo is inside. Se-byuk tells Hyun, "This is the reason my mother created me. I wanted to see myself." We are surprised to learn that Dr. Lim's husband and son, who was named Jack, both died in a car accident which devastated her. This is why she decided to conduct this experiment, creating Se-byuk from Jack's cells so he would be exactly like him. She decided to bring her son back, or at least the image of her son, through him. Se-byuk tells Hyun, "Thinking about death scares me, but at the same time living forever scares me even more," and he cannot hold back his tears and starts crying in front of Jack's photo. Afterward, he and Hyun drive and he asks Hyun to take them back to the laboratory. Hyun is surprised, but Se-byuk tells him, "This is my home. This is where I was born, and my mother is there, and I must go back." On the way, he coughs up blood again and visibly looks exhausted, so Hyun tries to increase speed to the maximum so they can arrive in time. At the same time, the police become suspicious of Hyun's car because of his speed and chase him, so Kim immediately manages to identify their location and his men pursue them. It is a difficult chase, but Hyun arrives near the ship and the laboratory at the last moment, and just before Kim's men shoot at them and kill them, a drone, just like the one that killed Dr. Anderson at the beginning, explodes in their car. The same armed soldiers belonging to President Chon appear and quickly take Hyun and Se-byuk inside the laboratory. Kim then calls President Chon and tells him, "You seem to have grown old and senile." President Chon tells him, "Did you think I did not know from the beginning that you were going to hand the specimen over to America? I discovered that Dr. Anderson was actually spying on us, so I had him killed. Right now I have a serious illness and not much time left. Meaning I'm sitting waiting for death and have nothing to fear or lose." We then flash back and see Se-byuk tearfully telling his mother, "You became a doctor because you wanted to be. As for me, if I wanted to become something, could I, like you?" She was crying and apologizing to him because his whole life has been nothing but suffering in the laboratory. Hyun wakes up and finds Dr. John working to begin extracting the stem cells they need, which is an exhausting and brutal procedure for Se-byuk. He tells Hyun he will do this to him every single day forever and will exploit Se-byuk because he does not die and is not human. Hyun gets very upset. Dr. John tells him, "Have you gotten attached to him or what?" But Hyun has genuinely grown attached and tells Dr. John to stop what he is doing because this is wrong. When Dr. John refuses, Hyun hits him in the face and knocks him down. A security guard comes, but Hyun beats him too and takes his gun. He starts shooting at all the equipment because he feels sorry for Sebiuk and tells Dr. John to stop what is happening to Sebiuk immediately. President Sean then arrives when he senses the alarm that has been triggered. Hyun notices that Dr. Lim is missing and asks where she is. John shows him her body. Yes, they killed her because she had wanted to kill President Sean, knowing he wanted to exploit Sebiuk for his personal interests. Since Hyun alone cannot pose any threat, they all close in on him and beat him without killing him because they need him for the experiment. They take him away and confine him somewhere else. But suddenly they look and find Sebiuk is not in his place. They find him standing in front of his mother's body in complete shock. Dr. John quickly grabs an injection and goes after him to give it to him, wanting to control him. But Sebiuk, with his power, and without even looking behind him, sees him and grabs him and slams his head into the ground with such force that the ground cracks. He lifts him and smashes his head again and again until he finishes him off. All of this while President Sean stands watching and his soldiers are terrified facing the monster before them. They aim their weapons at Sebiuk, but President Sean says, "No, nobody kills him. We need him." Sebiuk slowly starts moving toward them and the entire place shakes and the glass shatters. He sends 2 soldiers flying and demolishes them against the wall. The guards realize there is no solution but to kill him, and everyone opens fire simultaneously. But as always, the shooting is useless against him because not a single bullet reaches him. He controls everything from a distance and crushes the entire place on their heads, sparing only President Sean, whom he saves for last. Sebiuk approaches him, and President Sean is terrified and throws his walking stick at him. That is all he can do, and tells him, "Get away from me, please." But Sebiuk shows no mercy and crushes the wheelchair on him until it becomes like a ball in front of him. He uses his power to destroy the entire place, and Hyun and the 2 men transferring him are sent flying by the force of the wind he creates. Hyun falls to the ground, and they do not know if he is dead or alive. At the same time, Kim has arrived outside the ship with his army waiting for Sebiuk. They want to kill him and rid the world of his power, which no one could resist. He is then shocked when he finds the ship's steel splitting apart easily, and Sebiuk comes out calmly and completely unconcerned walking toward them. Kim commands his entire army and they rapidly open fire at him. But as always, all the shooting is pointless and useless. The ground cracks rapidly from Sebiuk's extraordinary power, like a devastating earthquake. Everyone is frozen in place, unable to resist his ability. Sebiuk uses his maximum power and sends them all flying and destroys the ground beneath them. But at the same time, he falls to the ground and coughs up blood again, since he has now gone without the injection for a very long time and is severely weakened, and his brain starts hurting. At that very moment, we discover that Hyun is still alive. He quickly gets up and sees what is happening, and takes an armored vehicle that was on the ship and tries to drive it out, but it is secured and difficult to move. While Sebiuk is still down, Kim regains his strength and gets up and boards a military vehicle from his army that has a cannon and starts firing at Sebiuk. Sebiuk tries to resist, but is affected by the blows and retreats with each hit because he is exhausted and cannot resist and falls to the ground. But fortunately, Hyun manages to get the vehicle out and at maximum speed rams into Kim at the last moment before he fires at Sebiuk and kills him. He then stops the vehicle in front of Sebiuk to shield him and quickly gets out to check on him. They do not manage to get back in the vehicle because Kim and his army blow it up and the shrapnel hits Hyun, injuring him. He tells Sebiuk run. Sebiuk tells him run where? You know I have nowhere to go. Sebiuk then begins to slowly recover some of his energy. But even this small amount is enough to literally destroy an army. He gets up and moves toward Kim and his army again and turns them into mashed potatoes, knocking everyone down and pinning them to the ground against their will. He creates a massive hole in the ground and throws them all into it with full force. He is now furious and wants to finish everyone off. Hyun is shocked at the madness he is doing and tells him enough, it is over. Sebiuk says no, it is not over yet and wants to kill everyone. He says anyway, people are destined to die. Hyun tries to stop him, but Sebiuk pushes him far away with his power. Sebiuk wants to take revenge on everyone for his mother, but when he thinks about it, he realizes this will genuinely never end. He tells Hyun, fine, I am ready now for you to kill me and end this. Hyun tells him, no, I cannot do that. Sebiuk threatens him, either you kill me or I will kill everyone. Hyun tells him, trust me, no matter how much you fear death, you will not be able to escape it. Hyun is convinced this is truly the right thing and picks up the weapon in his hands and tells Sebiuk, you are right. He fires a shot and Sebiuk falls to the ground. Hyun grieves over him deeply. Before dying, Sebiuk tells him, finally now, I feel sleepy and I want to sleep, and he closes his eyes, and Sebiuk truly dies. Hyun collapses over him. Afterward, Hyun goes to the same spot where they had been sitting by the shore and revisits his memories there. Even though he was the one closest to death, he is the only one who remained alive, but only God knows how long he will stay alive. And with that, the story of this film ends. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive the latest videos.